and welcome to the Aftershow. I am Max. This is Kat. And we already have the man, the legend, the one and only Isa. How you doing?
I'm gonna say Alhamdulillah, I'm doing well.
Alhamdulillah. That was something. That was... Oh!
That was an Oy vey Shmir.
Where do we start? Where do we start? Do we start with Adolf Hitler too, or do we start with the with the Islamic dilemma? I think we can do it backwards. We can start with the last debate first, cover that one quickly, and then go to the other one. Let's get the link over to the peeps. So, and pin it. There we go. Hello, everyone. So we already have the link pinned to the top of the side chat. Let me, DB wanted to join. Let me get him the link. And we'll get started. Before we get into that, make sure to do the social thing is like, share, subscribe. Send this to a friend, send this to your significant other. Go to the corner, use the corner of your street and yell, subscribe to Yerba Mate Talks. And that way we can share the love for the channel. All right, Isa, overview.
Oh boy. I think we were not on topic. Let's put it that way. Like, just simply put, we were not on topic for most of the debate.
Fair enough.
Going with the last debate, a lot of it was about Jews, Palestine, and Israel.
Yes, weird.
The major focus on that when it's about which religion respects more, not which religion respects the least. I'm going to be transparent. I don't think Daniel represented Judaism fairly at all. I mean, I think David's response about if he said that all Muslims were ISIS, I think was a fair rebuttal to that, because it's a very nasty thing to say about Jews. It feels very anti-Semitic, and I would say it's the same thing about it's Islamophobic to say, all Muslims are terrorists. Like when I was in the acting modeling world, they're like, oh, you can play a terrorist. I was like, like in that's where they're like, oh, you could play like a Muslim terrorist or Arab terrorist. I'm like, wow, that's
I'm sorry, but that's a little bit offensive.
It is a little bit offensive. Just a tad. And I'm like, we don't think so. Muslims are not all terrorists. Are there some Muslims that do terrorist activities? Sure. Are there some Jews that do bad things? Sure. That do terrorist activities? Sure. That's factual. This is not, there's no denying that point. But the way to engage that, it was very offensive. Like, I felt a lot of pain listening to those points. I mean, like pretty much the entire thing was attacking Jews and Judaism, and then trying to the tragedy that's going on in the Palestine, the Palestinian and Israeli conflict, or the Israeli-Hamas conflict, bringing up that tragedy and bringing religion to it, I don't think it's fair. I mean, I could say, I could bring up World War I and World War II. Were they Christian wars? You know what I'm saying? Because majority of people were of Christian backgrounds. You can make that argument and say, millions of people died because of that, and all the people involved in that, you could do that. So I want to engage what Sunflower said. Sunflower said, Islam has the highest percentage of terrorists and First and foremost, this is an ad reductio ad absurdum. You're trying to reduce an entire, and it's a very kind of Eurocentric way of looking at things. It's like, who is Islam? What are Muslims? Like, no, there are people have multiple identities. That's one identity that people might have. And no, you have terrorists it depends on how we're defining it. It depends how we define this type of situation. I definitely think it's completely wrong to say Muslims are responsible for terrorism. There are terrorist activities, and some of these people happen to be Muslim. Some of them happen to be Christian. They happen to be of all different kinds of backgrounds. And like I said before, you can, if you take out wars, you can say, well, the people who were in these wars, like the Iraq War, where millions of people died, I could say the leaders of these soldiers and the leaders of these wars were Christian, so that identity is now connected to what they've done in these spaces. That's a dishonest, disingenuous position. So, yeah, there are people
Mhm.
that do certain things that are not good, but I think it's wrong and it's ethically dubious to try to say Islam is the cause of their terrorist activity. There, a lot of it is because of colonialism and post-colonialist activities.
Yep.
So, and this is what Sunflower is doing, is showcasing Eurocentric perspectives, where he's trying to say, look, here's Pew data. Showing data does not dismantle the position. What you're doing is you're saying, here's data, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my bias on this data to showcase this narrative. This is disingenuous uh, position, intellectually speaking. So,
It's the
yeah,
Sam Harris strategy, and Sam Harris is Jewish, so we don't have to listen to him either.
yeah, it's a disgusting, disingenuous position.
All right, welcome, Poindexter and Brandon. Hello. We're doing it backwards. We're doing first the last debate and then the first one, because we're more interested in the first one than in the last one. But it took an unexpected turn. I was not expecting all the anti-Semitism rant, and for me, from a debate perspective, it's a secondary order argument. It's like, we respect Jesus more because you're friends with the Jews and the Jews don't like Jesus. It's far-fetched. It's a bad argument.
Yeah.
Any way you slice it.
Yeah.
And sprinkle the anti-Semitism on top, it makes it just unbearable. Daniel, shame on you. So Poindexter, thoughts on a little overview of this last debate we just saw.
I don't watch any of these debates. I'm going to be honest with you guys.
Oh, okay.
Just
That's kind of the
I'm
point
sorry.
of this. That's kind of the point of this show, to watch a debate and talk about that.
Someone just gave me this link and they said they're talking about Islam, they're talking about the gays, they're talking about all this stuff. I said, sounds good.
We're not talking about the gays today.
Yeah, but sometimes we do.
All right, Brandon. Hello.
Yeah,
you
I'm
doing?
sorry. I didn't mean to miss this debate, but I was stupid and I missed it. And I knew that if I came on here, I would learn all about it because I am so interested in what actually happened.
All right. Okay,
I'm
Isa.
sorry.
So I no, it's okay. I guess we'll just get started with Isa and I.
Yeah,
So
we watched both of them.
opening for
Anti-Semitism.
Daniel went first, and wait, Daniel went.
Yeah, Daniel went first.
Daniel
and then
went
David,
first,
and
yes.
then David went first. So you want me to give
And
my
then David.
my
So yeah, he
position?
went like straight into a little bit of an anti-Semitic rant, very loosely tied to the debate. So Daniel, in general, he's quite skilled in building openings, but today on this last debate, he fumbled it super hard.
I think he should have just said he wanted to have a debate about Palestine, Israel.
Yes.
Let's be honest, because that's what he wanted to talk about. He didn't want to talk about who respects more, because Judaism wasn't even the topic. It's Christianity and Islam. So,
Yes.
yeah.
It's like, okay, who respects Jesus more? And it's like, here's the Quran, here's the Bible, and Daniel is like, but the Talmud!
And the Talmud we see is directly quoted in the Quran.
Yeah.
The Talmud has many, many volumes. There's the
And so is the
Jerusalem and
Bible, though.
Babylonian. Huh?
I said the Bible is too.
Yeah, well, yeah. So you have what? 44 books
It's-
of the Bible, and I think if you have the Catholic corpus, it's even more. But like if we're looking at the Talmud, it's so many volumes where you have rabbis debating with each other, and rabbis engaging with each other, and you'll see it if it looks like this, and there's commentary around. And I've spent a lot of time in Jewish world, right? A lot of the rabbis, they don't have that interest in the Talmud. It isn't important for them. You have Mishnah, you have a lot of Midrash, you have a lot of other textual things that Jewish people engage with in Torah and Tanakh, and of course, and you have Pirkei Avot, you have Shulchan Aruch, you have lots of other Jewish texts that Jewish people focus on. Like Pirkei Avot, which means like the wisdom of the elders, is a text that a lot of Jewish people read. That's a text that you should focus on more. But when you're looking at the Talmud, so I actually had this debate with a Christian once, and I was on their what was it called? Not Instagram. It was the TikTok. So I came on the TikTok platform, and me and this guy usually have a good rapport. But I was like, the dude's saying some anti-Semitic stuff. So he's like, the Talmud says evil things about Jesus. So he gives me the section, and I keep reading, and it says nothing about Jesus. It's talking about all other kinds of things. Then he says, go to the part where it talks about Jesus. It's all the way at the bottom, and there's like one paragraph, and it's somebody called Jesus. You have to prove that that's Jesus of Nazareth of the New Testament. You have to prove that claim. You don't have that claim. First of all, the Talmud says has a very different narrative than the New Testament does. There's no Jesus Barabbas, there's no Jesus Christ, none of that's there in the Talmud. What happens is there's two people named Jesus. There's Jesus ben Strata and Jesus ben Pantera, who are sons of Roman soldiers by inappropriate relationships, right? Assault, I would say, by assault. And there's one of them is seen as like a black magician, that does black magic, and he doesn't have 12 apostles. He has some apostles, and he gets executed by the court. That's not the same story. How can we say these two people that just have the same name but completely different stories are the same person? That's ridiculous. It's preposterous. How many people were named Jesus in Nazareth or in Judea, in Samaria?
Mm-hmm.
Countless
Jesus,
times.
Jose. Yeah,
Tons.
I mean, yeah, definitely.
So this argument is a ridiculous argument. You first have to prove Jesus of Nazareth is the same Jesus that's talked about in the Talmud. That's pretty impossible to prove. So I don't think you can win that case. So saying some guy named Jesus did black magic and he paid the price for doing black magic, okay. All right, some guy named Jesus did black magic. Okay, so here's Tom from Yorkshire and here's Tom from New York. Wow, they're the same person, It's ridiculous.
And then when you look at it a little the way I see it, the whole Jesus is the son of the affair between Pantera and Mary. That kind of seems like a response to some of the claims that the first Christians were making about the conception of Jesus. Just seems like an instinctive response to, it's like, oh, you have some people now going around claiming how this guy was born out of a virgin, and as the ruling class, the rabbis, you have to say something to your people, and I think that's kind of what explains that idea of Mary and Pantera.
So Sunflower asked me a question. I mean,
Because we're doing a show, Sunflower. Shut the fuck, like, calm your fucking tits.
But doesn't everybody already know this answer? Like,
yes,
everybody knows what my background
Sunflower,
is.
He's so hyper. Like, dude, you should know this.
Yeah, that's a part of my background. But I mean, the point is,
he's yelling at you.
I'm an interfaith dialogue promoting person. So I think the conversation, I think David did much better in this position. Should we go to David's opening, or do you want to stay with
David? I think David today was on point. I think he made his argument as to how worshiping Jesus as God, there is no more utmost respect. Sunflower, like, drop the all caps and calm down, like, right now. I think today's this opening in particular was more effective, I think, than the Islamic dilemma one. I think it was great. You, Isam?
So my position is David is talking about Islam. Daniel's not. I'm like, dude, if that was me, like, you saw when I debated David, and I was debating is the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam a true prophet? I was like, I was talking about Islam. You need to talk about Islam if you're defending Islam, not attacking Judaism. And it's just, I don't know. It's like the last statement he said is like, we're not attacking. We don't attack Nabi Isa alayhi salam. We don't do that, right? And I was like, yeah, but you haven't even told us what Islam is. Like, that was a problem for me. And David's whole position, even in Debate Con 5, was talking about Islam. You have to talk about, if you're defending Islam, you need to talk about Islam, and you need to showcase the good stuff of Islam. And I'm like, that's one of the sad things I don't see. I'm like, you got a lot of good stuff you can deal with. Talk about helping the poor, helping the orphans, talking about like making sure there's like equity and, at least at that time, supporting women. There's a lot of stuff that you can do to make Islam look really good. And that's why I became, a debater for Islam, because I was like, there's a lot of space that you can go with here. And not everything's perfect, but there's a lot of good stuff you can talk about. And I just felt that wasn't there. But David's like, I'm going to talk about, and he actually did that. He did represent some of the things that are very positive. But he said, it's not enough. We go further. He said, hey, here, these are things that we do agree upon. I'm like, that's a good debate strategy. Talk about what your common stuff is, right? But I'm like, Daniel, that's your job. It's your job to show how Jesus is viewed good through Islam.
Yeah. This is what happens when I hear, people like Andrew Wilson and Daniel Pikachu, is that they never defend their position. It's all about attacking the other ones. But that doesn't make you right. The other person could still be wrong, and your position was not defended. So you didn't move the needle. And I'm only going to say this once. Sunflower, don't mess with Isa or that's going to be it. You can mess with me all you want, because I'll fucking reply to your face. But don't mess with Isa, or you're going to have a problem with me. And it's going to be it for you, because I will just make 2 clicks and you'll be gone.
You should put a gay flag next to his account. Can you do that?
No.
Can you make a little pride flag?
No, you are also fucking gone. What's with these people? So says dude, Popsicle, whatever the fuck the guy I just kicked's name was. If you want to try it out, go ahead. It's okay. We don't care. If you're curious, then just go for it.
We don't insult the LGBTQIA plus community here.
No.
So yeah, this is the wrong place to do that. And we don't think that, we don't say, oh, something's negative, we're going to put a pride flag around someone's head. That we don't do that kind of thing.
No.
We're respectful of the different communities that are here.
Yep.
So
So
no, but it's interesting that Sunflower has certain anti-Semitic feelings. I remember because I engaged with him earlier before. He has some anti-Semitic stuff, and it's funny because my position is I actually defend Islam, which clearly he doesn't even know that. But he doesn't even know that that's my position. That's what I'm known for, is that I'm an Islamic apologist.
It is quite funny to me when you just don't fit in their box and they just lose their shit. It's so funny. Like it's happening to Sunflower now, or Blessed be He.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to point out: too much format. I think they could have done without the second rebuttal and maybe have a little bit open discussion. I think that was missing for me, at least. I do appreciate the opening, rebuttal, but open discussion was missing for me, because it seemed a little bit that they were both stuck on their kind of side of their conversation, and they were just speaking to the audience, but they for times there were, it didn't feel like they were engaging with each other. They were both really dug up into their own positions, and we didn't get a conversation. Oh, that's adorable. So please take that back. You don't get to ask me anything. I will not take it back. I will double down on it. What a doofus. Um, so what did you think about the format? Do you like that kind of format? Do you prefer a little bit of open discussion?
Um, so what I feel, I would have loved more open discussion. I think going into the second debate, the Palestine-Israel position just was not, it was not a good place to go.
No.
And it's a terrible tragedy that's going on there. And lots of people are suffering. And he's talking about innocent Palestinians are suffering, which is 100% true. There's also innocent Israelis who are suffering after October 7th. Like, we have to be honest about this. We should be condemning all the suffering that happened, you know? This shouldn't be hard, you know? But like using this as like a platform to attack Jewish people it's pretty sick, you know? Instead of just saying,
Yeah.
some bad people did bad things. Yeah, and some of them happen to be Jewish and some of them happen to be Muslim. Yeah, but I don't know. I just think I'm going to blame all of Israel for this. I don't know. I just, for me, that doesn't work well.
I'm bringing up, like, even it's such a low tier atheist argument to bring up the story of Pantera, because we can't verify either way. We can't
That's
verify
true.
that it was
That's true.
or that it wasn't. It's such a low tier atheist, like, I just became an atheist on the internet argument. It's bad. It's super bad.
I feel you. No, I feel you. And I'm like, and the thing is, you're debating Christianity, and he didn't. He said, I said points, and you said nothing against Christianity. Your position was supposed to be against Christianity. And what you first need to do, I'm going to tell you what I would have done if I was the interlocutor. I would have said, look,
all right,
the argument, the way that I would have argued this is I would have said, look, yes, Christians have a really beautiful position of Jesus. They believe that he's a Messiah. They believe that he's loving. They believe that he's, you know, he did all of these amazing things. But there's a problem. If we go to the Torah says we have to believe in Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, let me see, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, right? You have to believe that, you know, there's one God. Hashem is the one God, right?
Yeah.
And you hear, O Israel, you know, I believe in the one God, you know, and that's it. So Christians don't believe in the one God. What they do is they are making Jesus into a partner with God. Into our position, that is shirk. That is making partners with God, right?
That is shirk,
yes, you do sound good. You do sound right, but you've gone beyond the means. Instead of keeping God as God, you're making a man being associated with God. And this is our problem. This is why we can't accept your position. You go too far with Jesus, you know? Mm-hmm. Instead of allowing God, because God has beyond any form, God is beyond any type of thought process. I mean, like if I'm taking like the Orthodox Sunni Islamic position, that's what I would do, right? And that's a much stronger position, because what you're saying is, hey, yes, we respect Jesus because we stay in line with keeping God as one. You have gone beyond the pale and you have made Jesus a partner with God. So you have committed heresy. Do you get what I mean? And that's the same thing. The Jewish and Muslim argument is that. And that's why we respect Jesus, is because we are not committing heresy by putting Jesus on the same platform with God. And I'm like, that's the argument you need to make in this debate. That's what you have to do, you know?
Yep. That is a way better argument than Daniel presented. It does have some problems, or at least I would say if I were David Wood, I would object into that. Okay, but that would be sort of, you're making an external critique on Jesus based on the Quran, but not on the Bible. It gets a little bit tricky with, okay, how much ground can you cede to the argument just to keep the conversation going, because it should shut down at Jesus divine, Jesus not divine. That is an unpassable terrain kind of situation, right?
So yeah, exactly. What I would do is I would say I would use the Torah you can use the Torah as your position and say the Torah agrees with me. I believe there's a Judeo-Islamic argument more than there is a Judeo-Christian argument, and that's the kind of thing that you can take, and that's the route you can take and say we're following the Hebrew scriptures. We are the inheritors of this type of position because the rabbis agree with us. Even the classical rabbis say, yeah, maybe they don't like us as Muslims, but they said our theology is fair. We believe in the same God. But the rabbis like Rabbi Rambam does not believe that Christians believe in the same God. See, that's the type of thing that you can do. But the problem is he would have to ally himself with Jews, which I don't think he wants to do.
Yeah, he doesn't want to. Yeah.
But that's a much stronger position, because if you're using the Jewish source text and you're using, this kind of really pure monotheistic position, that's the way that you can pull it through. And I get it. I can see there's cracks here, the internal external critique. But the point is, if you hold to the Torah, that will then give you strength. You know what I mean? But you then would have to say that you believe the Torah is reliable. But and I actually don't think it's very problematic to hold the Torah as reliable, because if you read the Hadith, there are things that you might view as problematic about, the companions and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? You might view these things as problematic, but you can say, well, that was the context of that period of time. So yes, the Hebrews may have done things that are problematic, but God punishes the Hebrews when they do things wrong, right? God punishes the Muslims when the Muslims do things wrong. See, this is a much more grounded position, and it's a much stronger position that I think. First of all, you're relying on Islam. You're not relying on just attacking Jews. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think he would have had a lot more strength in that situation. So.
It seemed odd to me that he would put himself in a position of having just a shitty argument. He regularly doesn't do that. So I was
really
kind of surprised. Yes, me too.
I'm utterly surprised, because I'm like, he like, this is the time that you can make Islam shine. You have to make this position show, you've got to make Islam shine. But he's like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, because when the Patrick Ben David question gets brought up, he's like, yeah, I believe that people who go against Islam should be punished. I'm like, that's not a classical Sunni position, though. That's not even a classical Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah position, because the types of positions that you have in Sunni Islam is you have maslaha, which is public interest. You also have four schools of thought that have different kinds of positions in different situations. And they usually they differ on different places. That creates a certain kind of breadth of understanding. So like Imam Malik of the four schools of thought takes the position of urf. And urf is kind of like what is like the tradition of the community. Like, so you would incorporate certain things from the traditions of the community. So a lot of like Senegalese and North Africans follow the Maliki school because it fits well into their space. And then people in like South Asia are usually Hanafi or Shafi. Hanafis are like very much focused on kind of a metropolis type of life, right? So you have Sunni Islam is very similar to Rabbinic Judaism. They're almost identical. They function very, very similarly, where it's a very scholarly based situation where you have these scholars and you have a thing called a shura, like a council. So you have a council of rabbis, you have a council of faqihs or fuqaha that kind of engage what's going on. They deal with hypotheticals. It's a lot more nuanced and complex. I feel that Daniel doesn't showcase that element within Islam, and I think that would be beneficial. Showcase how Islam has these flexibilities, particularly within the Sunni tradition, And I never heard that. I'm like, you have this toolkit. You know what Sunni Islam is. Talk about it. Talk about where it has versatility. The thing is,
I think he won't do that because that clashes with his argument of, okay, this is the correct way to go about being a Muslim, and also he really doesn't like the innovation thing. He's spoken about it before. So I don't know. I think it would kind of undermine some of his other arguments. That's why he doesn't take that position. But it would be a more defensible position. just from the start.
Well, the position is he says I'm an Orthodox Sunni. So I'm like, if you're an Orthodox Sunni, you've got a whole bag of tricks you can work with here, and teach the community about what Orthodox Sunni Islam has to offer. Salafi Islam, in a lot of ways, is really not Sunni Islam, from what I've seen. It claims to follow like the four schools of thought. Some Salafis are, I'm going to say that, but there's certain things like ISIS who are Salafis. They don't actually believe in the chain. They don't believe in the chain of scholarship. So Sunnis are very, very big into like scholarly transmissions. That it's not just hadith, it's not just Quran and hadith, but you have all of these like these opinions that come from years and years of scholarship and precedent. You know what I mean? You have all these legal treatises, that are presented. So Sunni scholars have you have the Muwatta of Imam Malik, you have Fiqh al-Kabir from who is that? Forget exactly, but it's from one of the other scholars. You have so you have each of these four Sunni scholars have their own treatise. They have their treatises that that they utilize, and they have rulings and understandings. You have tafsir or tafsir. There's a rich academic science within Islamic studies, and I see a lot of these kind of Salafi or these Salafi proponents really not engaging that. And I think that hurts the position, especially if you're arguing that you're a Sunni. You should try to use Sunni sources.
Mm-hmm. All right. So that was this last debate. Weird overall. Then Daniel cried a little bit about people heckling him and that kind of stuff. I mean, that last part where he got interrupted, I mean, he was flat out lying, just like no shame. Just Daniel, come on, like seriously. I know you were lying, and I'm an atheist. It was bad. So we've been excited for this. I think I like this Islamic dilemma argument because it's the correct application of what people like Andrew Wilson try to do, but it is correctly applied to the argument. So David Wood lays it out. Basically, the problem is that some people, some sects within, and mostly, I would say that it's mostly an internet dawa kind of a thing, to say that the Gospels are corrupted, right? So this puts the Muslims in a dilemma because, as David Wood showed, there are many verses in which the Quran affirms the previous scriptures and tells Jews and Christians that they should go and live by their scriptures. So this puts the Muslims in a very unique position that if the Christians and the Jews judge by their scriptures, then Islam is false. And then, if not, then Islam would be false because Allah is telling them to go by books which are false, so it doesn't make sense. I think it's a great example of a good argument. And I've tried to think what I would do if I were put in the position of having to defend from this, if I were to put myself in Daniel's position. And I think that the only defense is to just deny the corruption of the Gospels. If you don't believe the Gospels are corrupted, then you don't have any dilemma. You can just say, yes, all of the previous scriptures are true. What about the contradictions? Well, it's just an evolution of the theology, the same way that Christianity is an evolution of the Jewish theology. Islam is an evolution of the both previous theology, so sort of like a collective summation. And I think that would be a fair defense. But apparently Daniel was trying to still claim that the scriptures are corrupted and also kind of try to navigate the Islamic dilemma. I'm sorry, Daniel, it doesn't work. It's very well constructed so that you cannot do that. And I don't know why Daniel didn't see it, so he really failed today. So, Isa, thoughts on David Wood's opening?
For the Islamic dilemma.
Yes, sir.
So I wanted to mention the 4 books of the text, and I'll do that. It's Fiqh al-Kabir for the Hanafis, the Muawata for the Malikis, the Ar-Risala for the Shafi'is, and the Musnad for the Hanbalis. So those are the 4 kind of treatise books that they had. So Islam has lots of scholarly texts that go just like the Talmud and that you have for Judaism. You have all of these kind of these rich corpus of texts, and some of the stuff that might be in these texts might not be pleasant to modern audiences, but that doesn't matter. That they're texts from the time and dealing with the issues of the time. So that's an important thing. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear from a Islamic scholarly approach. To engage what I think about David's approach, I think he's very good. He's very good at this. He's well trained. He's very good at this situation. It's interesting how he engages with his opponents. Like when I was with him, I was like a colleague. I wasn't like an enemy of his. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And there
Know
wasn't
exactly what you mean. Yes.
there wasn't that kind of tension. We didn't have tension when we were debating. We kind of joined together and had fun. In this, there was a lot of tension. There was a lot of but I think the point is exactly that. What is the position of the Muslim? Do you find these texts to be holistically corrupted or not? I think he engaged it. I think he had a very good presentation. I think he knew how to handle it. And I mean, I agree with the arguments. I agree that I do think that the Quran affirms the text. So I actually take that position. I agree with him. So, but I have a way to answer it in a different way. I'm hoping to do my master's thesis on this. So,
Cool.
On the
Awesome.
Islamic dilemma. I've already written papers on this. I've written 2 papers on the Islamic dilemma. I'm planning to keep doing more research on it. So, this is kind of, I have a, fire to my feet on this because it's such a cool topic. I think there's a way to deal with
cool.
it. There's a way to deal with it, but the Salafi way is not the way that it's going to help you handle it.
No,
you're going to have to take more of a Sufi approach. You're going to have to take a Sufi approach.
You need to dodge it like way more. You can't just dodge. You need to dodge the claim of corruption. Otherwise, you're always stuck inside. Yeah. And I think that's why it interests me so much. It's because it's a great example on how to build a great argument, a great offensive argument, using actually taking to effect, using your opponent's view against themselves. This is the proper way to do it, not when Andrew Wilson says it's just your preference, right? This is the proper way to set up an argument using your opponent's view. And from the other side, what also interests me is how do you defend against a very well-crafted argument? And I think today Daniel failed. I'm sorry.
So I can start us off with Daniel's response.
Yeah, go for it.
So Daniel's response was something I talk about in my paper, which he talks about tahrif. So you have tahrif al-mana and tahrif al-lafzi. There's different types of tahrif, right? So you have the textual tahrif or corruption. So you have textual corruption versus interpretive corruption. And they're very different, right? So the textual corruption is sort of like you're saying that these people actually changed the text. The way to take that position, see, when you're dealing with canonized texts, you're going to have a big problem there. If you're saying that this small group of Jews in Arabia who might have different kinds of views. So when I look at the Quran, what I see is that the Quran is talking about those particular Jews. It's not talking about Jews holistically. It can't. It literally cannot, because it says they see them at Uzair as the son of God, right? That's not Jewish doctrine. So it has to be those specific Jews. That's the way a Muslim has to take that position. You can't say it's Jews as a whole, right? Because the canonical text does not say that, right? So to do a textual corruption would be very, very hard. And Daniel doesn't prove it. He would have to show that all these rabbis conspired to be able to corrupt all of these Torahs.
Right.
I don't think you can prove that. It's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy, and you can't prove it, right?
Yeah, and it gets you into a problem. Like no one got one of the old copies. We have no trace. We have no rumors of these old copies before. Like, because I mean, this happened. This actually happened in Islam when was it Uthman burned and standardized the Quran?
He burned the other texts. That's correct.
And we know about it
because there were other texts that existed. So yes, even at that time, other because what Caliph Uthman, his goal was to try to protect the Ummah. That was why he did that.
Yeah.
But the point was that there were variants that existed. That's what was being burned. You know what I mean? So yeah, you can't say that didn't exist. There was something that was being burned. And it wasn't just for fun. He was doing it to protect the community.
And the purpose was fulfilled. The purpose was fulfilled. The Quran was standardized. Yes. But the story still remains. We still have the underlying knowledge. This happened, and we don't have that for the Torah or for any of the Jewish scriptures or the Christian scriptures. We just don't know. They're anonymous.
It is different, but it's much more ancient. So the Hebrew scriptures are thousands of years ago, and so is the New Testament. The New Testament's thousands of years ago. So you're dealing with texts that are thousands of years ago. So the way that we preserve time and text, it's a different scholarly approach. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, like the way I would deal with this approach, if I was Daniel and I was dealing with this, I would say, look, first of all, I don't think that they're corrupted. I would say I can't say they're corrupted. However, it's the interpretation that matters. It's not the text that's the problem. It's the way that we're reading the text. So the text is ambiguous, right? So Muslims could be held to the thing, say, we believe in what Jesus said, right? Everything that Jesus said, the Gospels, fine. Pauline texts are a little bit more controversial. You'll have to figure out that if Muslims want to incorporate the Pauline text, it's going to be a little bit more work. But if you're just saying the Gospels say, Jesus said, I'm the Son of Man. He didn't directly say, I'm the Son of God. So it's spiritual. Everything he's saying is spiritual, and this follows the Sufi kind of perspective, where humans may have a really close connection with God, that they're completely absorbed with God. You know what I mean? So these things aren't controversial with the tasawwuf elements of Islam. We don't have these problems. You know what I mean? Like wahdat al-wujud, the unification of being. You know what I mean? This is a Sufi concept, right? So we don't have these problems per se, but it depends on how you argue it, right? So you can run and say, I don't have problems with what any of these texts say. And you say, oh, well, he was crucified. Well, there's some spiritual understanding to that. I don't have to literally read the text. I can get spiritual wisdom from the text. You know what I mean? So this is some spiritual narrative, but, you know, the deeper point is that, you know, we're focusing on the Quran and we're focusing on what the Quran has to say, but we're not going to reject these texts. It's not our focus. Take the Baha'i position. That's what the Baha'is do. And it's a very smart position.
Yeah.
You said, I accept all of it. That's fine. But we're focusing, like the Baha'is say, we're focusing on the tablets of Baha'u'llah. And that's what we're focusing on. Muslims say we're focusing on the Quran, the Torah, the Zabur, the Injil. They're great. We'll get wisdom from that. But our major focus is the Quran.
Yep.
And you neutralize the position. But if you have to focus on saying, well, I need to discredit these texts, well, you're going to lose. It's not going to help you.
Yeah, no, because they're foundational to your belief. So
yeah,
it's a weird thing. Hebe says none of this matters. Islam, as practiced, is a religion for autists, even more than Judaism is. Oh,
what are autists?
Tell me you don't understand anything without saying it. Love that.
What does autists mean?
People with autism.
So you're making a talking folks with disabilities.
Sunflower is thinking that he's going to give us tips on how to grow the channel. Oh, that's adorable, buddy.
But I mean, it sounds like what's the word called? It's like it's ability shaming.
Yeah, it's ableism. They said I'm Jewish and I lived in a Muslim country in the past. I have saved this one from Al Khwarizmi before. Said plane geometry and spherical geometry contradict each other. Which one is true? They're both true.
Well, you know, it's interesting that Hibby brings up this point about being Jewish and living in a Muslim country, and I think it's cool. But I mean, no, you lived in a country with a Muslim majority. So, according to this is one of my favorite scholars. He's a Palestinian Christian scholar named Wael B. Halak, and he writes The Impossible State. So these Muslim majority countries aren't representations of a Muslim state. They're representations of post-nationalist states, postmodern nation-state models where you have Muslim majorities, and you have all their cultural baggage. You have all of that stuff that's going on, plus capitalism, postmodernism. You have all of that incorporated. So that's not necessarily a representation of Islamic theology or Islamic law. What they might do is they take some derivative of these elements, but that doesn't mean that is a Muslim country. Like, I wouldn't say Israel's a Jewish country. It's a country with a Jewish majority that's under post-nationalism and stuff like that, that tries to incorporate Jewish elements into the country. But it can't be a Jewish country. Just that nation states and religion don't really mesh well together. They have different goals. What the religion's goal is different than the nation state's goal. And also the religions are from thousands of years ago. They have different intents. So yes, I would say like Israel is a Jewish majority country, but that has Jewish elements, but it also has Islamic elements. It uses the Millet system from the Ottoman Empire, unlike pretty much any of these Muslim countries do. So yeah, and British law. They use British law too. So yeah.
Oh, my Sunflower is crashing out. Sunflower, Max did like full streams with me, and it was just him and me. Just Sunflower, like, chill the fuck down, dude. Minimum Effort says it's crazy how some people hate on Islam simply because it's easier to understand than their own religion, hence saying it's simple. There is a lot of hate for Islam. Does it deserve a little bit of it? Maybe, sure. Do I disagree with it? Yes, but I've softened a lot more in when it comes to the religions, and most people do not follow the hard line of Islam. Most people are not Daniel Pikachu.
Well, and there's different interpretations of Islam, just like there's different interpretations of Judaism. Like some people practice Kabbalah, the Kabbalistic practice within Judaism. Some people practice tasawwuf in Islam. They're not interested in forcing. Like, for example, there's a concept called tazkiyatun nafs, or purification of the self. And a lot of Muslims who focus on that. That's their perspective. Their goal is to make themselves better human beings. You know what I mean? Some Muslims are they take a more Salafistic approach, and there's benefits of different spaces. Like, I can see how Salafi Islam can be beneficial. Like, if you're in a small, tight-knit community and you want to keep everybody on track, you might say, hey, these are the ground rules. We want to keep ourselves on track. We want to be pure. We don't want to deviate. Like you see in Mennonite Amish spaces, you can see the benefit of that. I can see how that works. It's problematic when you enforce your perspectives on others. You know what I mean? And that's the issue. But if you're using and saying, hey, this is my framework of how I'm gonna, practice, and I want to follow these rules, to the T, and I believe that brings me closer to God, I don't see what the problem with that is. The problem is when you impose it on others. So,
So during the discussion, during the rebuttals, Daniel was kind of fixed in his strategy of the text is still corrupted without actually being able to prove the corruption, which is a bad strategy from the start. And then David because his actual argument kind of went unaddressed. David just stood in his position and waited for a response, which actually never came. It was a really bad day for Daniel. I don't know if it's because he was nervous, because he was, in a room where the majority of people were rooting against him, nerves. I have no idea what happened because he's generally more effective today. He came from his house with the wrong idea on how to go about the full day. He failed at the strategy for the Islamic dilemma, failed at the strategy for the other. I mean, well, failed no, because he executed his strategy, set up the topic as a segue to talk about Israel and Palestine, which it doesn't seem professional. I don't know, to bamboozle a debate topic like that. I don't know what you think. And let me just tell this before I hand it over to you, Isa. Let me just tell this to Sunflower. The link is open right there. It's pinned to the top of the side chat. I didn't kick the centers. I kicked the guy who just came on. He hadn't watched the debate and came on to talk about the gays. And sure, we can have that conversation some other time. It's just that I'm more interested in talking with Isa because this is something that Isa and I have been following for a couple of months now. So, am I cool with being just here with Isa? Yes, I love hanging out with Isa, and we're doing okay, and people are watching. So, I don't know, Sunflower, just eat a dick. We have Phil City. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Really, really well. Any thoughts on what we're talking about? I'm going to hand it over to you, and I'll be right back. Isa, take over for a little. I need to go to the toilet.
I actually
Hey.
wasn't listening for the last couple of minutes because I was trying to set up my username and stuff on here on my phone. So I had the stream muted in case I actually joined. I didn't want to hear double speak or have like echo on my phone or whatever. So I haven't heard like the last 5 minutes.
So we were talking about David Wood's opening, and we were talking about for the Islamic dilemma. Do you know what the Islamic dilemma is? Are you familiar with that?
No, not specifically.
So basically, the position is the Quran affirms the Torah, the Zabur, and the Injil, but the Torah, the Zabur, or particularly the Injil, not necessarily the Torah and the Zabur, but the Injil contradicts with the Quran, right?
Mm.
So that proves the Quran is false. And if you say that the texts are corrupted, that means the Quran is false. So thus, however you look at it, the Quran is false. That's the position that the Islamic dilemma is.
Yeah, that's a dilemma.
If you take that position, but the position is if you think that these texts are corrupted, you can harmonize these texts without
So they kind of try to make it like a fruit of the poisonous tree type thing. Where if this is bad, then the whole thing's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made a custom thing after my name just for shout out to Sunflower in the chat.
So you want to talk about that? What is that about?
What, the Sunflower is a little bitch?
Well, basically what happened, why this started off, is Sunflower's a little bit anti-Semitic. I've engaged with Sunflower before, and he has some anti-Semitic feelings. I had mentioned something about Judaism before a long time ago. We had an early engagement, and he couldn't handle it. And I get it. He has some things against Jews, and that's sad and unfortunate.
Right.
But I'm kind of the wrong person to present that to. And yeah, I don't like anti-Semitism, and I don't like Islamophobia, and I don't like hating white people. I'm against hating other people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Hating LGBTQIA plus. That's why Max kicked the other person off, was because the other person
I caught that.
A liberal
put a flag
put
next to his
flag.
name or whatever, and I'm like,
yeah, and I'm like that.
Would...
So you're gonna insult the LGBTQIA community? Like, what does that get? Doesn't really get much.
Yeah, I don't have problems with any specific type of like race, religion. I have problems with assholes, and they come in all religions, all races. So like assholes are assholes. Like I'm not like, oh, that person is a blah blah blah. So they're prone to being an asshole. No, an asshole can be anybody.
Yeah, so you don't want to insult these people. So did you see the debate with David Wood and
I will tell you, I did not catch it.
yeah, most people
Um,
didn't. It was really just Max and I that
yeah,
saw it. Yeah.
yeah. I just wanted to jump on the panel so that there was more people, so Sunflower could shut up and to kind of rub it in Sunflower's face and to show that I'm not afraid to show my face and talk on the panel.
You're funny. Well, so I mean, and that's silly. That's funny. But yeah, the interesting thing is talking about like the debate as a whole. You know, I think that these debates are interesting, and I think with this particular debate, like just watching all day, like as I was watching since 3 o'clock, so I saw both debates.
Okay, you saw the one before as well.
Yeah. So this first debate was the Islamic dilemma. The second debate was which religion's more respectful. So the second debate, he really just focused on how bad Judaism was. That's what Daniel did, and then David was more focused about Islam. So,
is there even a disrespectful religion? It's all in like how the person is who
interprets it.
is doing that religion. Like anybody could be disrespectful regardless of their religion.
That's true. And it's all about interpretation. So if you're coming with a noble intent, I've done a lot of interfaith work. I do interfaith dialogue with Muslims, Christians, and Jews, and they're respectful to all the different traditions. They might say, hey, I believe in Islam, or I believe in Christianity, or I believe in Judaism, but you can be respectful to other religions. So without, throwing the whole thing underboard, and the Palestine-Israel stuff was just not necessary. That's a different discussion, but yeah. I'm going to just want to showcase what Max said. Max V said, how's my recovery going? How am I feeling? I'm getting there. I keep trying to do little exercises with my foot every day. So, yeah.
I hope you have a speedy recovery on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a terrible accident, so.
Yeah, the last stream I caught you were in a hospital bed or whatever, and I was like,
I was.
Yeah, like a boss. So Daniel, I don't know why he fumbled so much the strategies tonight. It's not typical of him. He usually does a lot better than this. So I don't know. That's what I wanted to ask you. Do you think that I don't know, he was nervous, or he just picked a bad argument, and I don't know, just unfortunate, I guess?
So what I think is he focused on the corruption argument, so the tahrif position. So he was like, it's textually corrupted. The problem is he didn't engage the fallout of taking that position. He's just like, well, the text says it. And I'm like, that's cool, but that's not the problem here. The problem here is, how do you unify this space? How do you engage the space where you engage with the kind of rebuttal to your position that you're supporting Islam? And I just don't. He kind of took a very classical approach towards it, and I don't. It's a classical approach that's really not satisfactory. It doesn't really deal with it. You're just like, well, I'm going to take that one verse from Surah Al-Baqarah or Surah 2 of the Quran that says, they twisted the text with writing, right? It doesn't say that it's the Torah, the Zabur, the Injil either. The text is not clear on that, so it doesn't tell us that. It could be any text. It could be any kind of forgery. It could be forgeries. You know what I mean? It's not saying that they directly corrupted the holy text itself. Do you get what I mean? So, and it doesn't, so taking that verse and trying to push it further, I don't think it helps, because I think David and I think the Christian apologists as a whole make a good argument. They say, look, most of these texts, they just, the Quran is a unified whole. Early scholars as a unified whole see that these texts aren't corrupted. And I don't think you need to see them as corrupted. You just need to figure out a way to move out of that space. So, Yeah. And you need to kind of see the spirit of these traditions as opposed to literal scriptural analysis of these texts. You know, so
Yeah.
yeah, my mom's doing well. She's in the hospital, and we're trying to figure out about our transition home. So, thank you,
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for asking.
thank you.
Minimum effort says, or the position is whether or not to affirm is indeed to confirm or authenticate rather than going on about the poison tree. That's the only thing I wanted to grant Daniel, is that I think he should have driven it home a bit more, because that's the other way, is that you can say that the Quran does affirm the previous scripture, but corrects some incidents that might be happening and refines the theology. I think that would have got him more, but he kind of mentioned it in passing, and just kept on talking. Okay, what kept on asking, what's the definition of confirms? And he could have just given the possibility, would have made for a better argument than whatever else he tried. But I think that was the only good thing that Daniel did in that debate, was just point out that there is a type of confirmation that you could have that could mean that they're both true, that the Quran just corrects and expands on some of the points that the Bible makes. It doesn't, because it's how they all did the same thing. Judaism basically is a transition from the old Canaanite gods, and then you have Christianity, which takes Judaism and transforms it and makes it into a new thing, and then you have Islam doing the same thing. So it is a valid argument. I don't know why he kind of just focused on calling out the definition instead of maybe laying out the argument in a little bit more of a clear way. I think that would have been way better. What do you think about that, Isa?
I think, yeah, I think I agree with you. There needed to be a different kind of focus, and I think there should have been a different focus with this situation, and I think if if he was focusing like on a more holistic perspective, like the only time I heard him really talking about Islam was like he's like, yeah, I believe Islam promotes death penalty in Islamic states. So I'm like, dude, this is like the worst way to represent Islam, man. You're making Islam look like this, like, like the dudes from Chronicles of Riddick. I don't know if you've seen the necromongers from Chronicles of Riddick. Like these horrible, like authoritarian dictatorship 1984 Ministry of Truth. Like that's what you're making Islam look like, dude. This is not good. And it was weird when James was like, I really like you, Daniel, and I really like you, David. I was like, I don't believe that for a second, man. Why would you say that at the end? I'm like, that's not true, but I was like, okay, bro.
Do you think that he just didn't prepare enough for that point, or he didn't like have enough like talking points, so he just kind of came up with what he wanted to say and then just kind of winged it after that? Or
I think he had a plan, and he was like, he just took the standard narrative. I don't really think he listened to anything David said, because like in the rebuttal, he like he engaged one point that David said. Like, watch my debate with David. Like, I engage every single point David says, Like every single argument David says, I'm writing. Like I'm actually focusing on what David says. I don't think Daniel did that. I think Daniel was just like, no, I think it's all crap, you know? So
Yeah, I've never actually, other than like face to face with somebody, I've never actually like debated. So like that would be, I think, the hardest thing for me, because I'm not that fast of a writer or a typer. So what I would probably do is like record what they're saying, and then maybe kind of like not tell them, but then like play it back in my headset, like at like 2 times speed or something. And every time they say something, I'll like pause it real quick and say, well, I wanted to address this and blah, 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 blah. And then hit play and then like get the next point. Like, so you can go through everything they brought up to like counter it.
Well, I mean, in general, depending on the topic, I take notes on my copybook, because that you can get, but it gets better with practice about active listening, and it's a skill that you can improve on. But always, having a copybook and making a little note about the stuff that you want to bring up, that's always kind of useful.
I bet what is it in court? The stenographer, the people that take down the typing stuff and the shorthand. I bet they're a whiz at taking notes.
Yeah. So I'm thinking what else got brought up. I honestly wish that we would have had a little bit of open discussion, because it flows differently than just the rebuttals. I don't like it that much when it's just way
Like
too
super structured.
formatted. Yeah, because a part of a debate is the conversational aspect of it, not just each of them monologuing and just holding. I think when a debate like this gets stuck, that both of them dig into their position and they're not engaging, when you have to talk to each other, that kind of some of those barriers break, and we can get some actual engagement in the topic.
Yeah, because at that point, it's almost like they could have just pre-recorded and then pressed play.
Yes. And especially when in the second rebuttal, they're not really addressing what was brought up in the one before. It was just restating their position, and not a big fan of that thing precisely.
Like a political debate where they're like, blah, 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 and we're tough on crime. Like they just kind of throw it like a tagline at the end, like to reiterate their stance.
Yeah, with no substance. Yes.
Yeah.
Minimum Effort says it just becomes character assassination between those two, though. It did a little bit. Get a little bit personal.
I think we should talk about the Q&As. That was hilarious.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
It was funny to see all the famous people there, like all the famous Christian apologists, like Mary Harb and Thaddeus and Usman Dadak. They were all there. Usman Dadak that was the guy's like, he's a brown Arab who was like dying when that happened. They had a little battle there.
Yeah. I sent you a message on our Discord, on our group chat on Discord. What was it that he said? Hold on. He told that guy, "You are an agent." That was and Daniel going into the conspiracies about David Wood being an agent, and then this guy also being an agent, and everyone is an agent. Daniel, come on.
What did David say that was wrong? He said, I care about Palestinians and I care about Israelis. That he said the right answer. He said the ethical answer. We should care about both people. This is not hard. And we want peace in the region. This is what normal human beings should want. But just saying, I'm going to place all the blame. Yeah, of course, both sides, there's problems. But David's right. Hamas is a terrorist organization. It is. That's just the facts of the matter. And it's held the Palestinian people hostage for about 20 years. There's not been an election there for 20 years. These are facts. Is the Israeli government a part of this situation? yeah, of course, we know that. There's problems there, but they're different. They're different issues. You know what I'm saying? The Israel government has elections. People are being elected in and out. Do some of these did Smotrich say horrible things? Did Ben Gvir say horrible? Yeah, of course they did. We're not going to say what they said was good. What they said was horrible after 10/7. But it was unacceptable what they said as a leader. You shouldn't say these things. You know what I mean? And it's what happened on October 7th was tragic, but Palestinian people have suffered for 75 years too. This is important. We have to engage that. And so have Israelis. We got to be nuanced about this thing. This is a very complex, nuanced situation where there's lots of suffering. And it's hard when I hear I feel that David's response was much better, in dealing with it. He's like, yeah, I care about these people. It's like, I want Palestinians to have safety. I want them to have freedom. And then he used those trips that, Daniel was attacking. It's like, I went and spent time with Jews. I learned their opinions. They're not what you're saying. Did you go spend time with Jews and get these assessments? Oh, you didn't do that. Okay. So, I did too. I've been in both of these spaces. I've been with Palestinians and Israelis. And there's a lot of trauma. There is a lot of trauma, and there's a lot of pain. And it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of healing, and they both are right. They both are right in their grievances. They both have grievances, and they're both right. And I don't know why this is hard.
But going to the topic of Jesus, only what the Hasidic Jews will claim that Jesus is boiling in excrement, that kind of a thing. And Daniel was trying to make the argument that this is the widespread view it's not. It's just not. Max V said for $5 Singaporean, tap that like button or sunflower will show up in your dreams tonight and turn them into micro penis nightmares.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
Unless that's your thing. I mean, more power to you if it is.
No, the funny part is that he was asking, are you having fun with a 2-person panel? And he's like, yeah, I'm having fun. We could do this all day, every day. It's like, dude,
I really have no insight to this conversation. I mainly joined just to defy Sunflower. That's why I added the little thing after my name. So I just wanted to help make the panel bigger and maybe give a dum-dum's opinion every once in a while.
I mean, we always, I always knew at least that this is not the most popular topic within our audience. I knew that it was niche, but it's a topic that I like, that we share with Isa, and we have from different points of views. We agree on that it's a good exercise, at least in, for me, in exercising debate skills and that kind of stuff. So, it's just it's a fun conversation to have.
And it's not flat Earth. I'm sorry. I'm so
tired.
And
it's not flat Earth.
I'm so tired of flat Earth. I'm honestly, I just am done with it. I'm dude, the Earth's a globe. Okay, this is common sense. We all know it. This is not hard. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. There's been oodles and just debate after debate about flat Earth, and I'm I'm bored. I know. Yes, I get it. Electrostatics, Michelson Morley. Yes, we know it. What is it? Tychonian, the neo-Tychonian model, and I'm
yeah. Oh
God, can I not hear about this topic ever again? But this is something I'm actually interested, because my field's religion. That's what I study. This is my my bread and what do they call it? Milk and bread. Bread, yeah.
Bread and
butter. It's my bread and butter. It's my thing. It's my niche. So I love talking about religion. I think Max likes talking about religion too. There's a lot of interesting things about it. And I really wish the problem we're having here is that Daniel didn't really make a good rebuttal. He didn't my argument that I made for the Islamic dilemma is way better. For both arguments is better. You know what I'm saying? What I made for the Islamic dilemma is I said, we can read, these texts aren't corrupted. They need to be spiritually interpreted. And that's the key for looking at the Torah, the Zabur, the Injil. Yes, there are things for all the modern audiences that might be difficult, but we have scholars that can look through it. And the classical scholars actually agree that these texts aren't corrupted. Ibn Abbas is complex. He's the only kind of outlier from the classical spaces, but that's debatable because in certain things that he says, when he takes a different position. So that's complex and nuanced. So there's a way that you can engage this and say, yeah, I don't think that they're corrupted. I don't think that the Quran is false either. The Quran is exploring a different avenue than what the Torah and the Injil are exploring. They're exploring different levels of spirituality. So the Torah and the Torah and the Injil are correct, and so is the Quran. They're just exploring different realities. They're on different spaces of understanding. And then I would take the Prophet Joseph story and compare it to the Quran and the Bible and say, they're exploring different things. So the historical narrative of the Prophet Joseph is seen in the Bible, and the spiritual story of the Prophet Joseph is seen in the Quran. And yes, some of the
Wait,
things.
the Joseph. Which Joseph?
Joseph is the one who goes into the well, and he has
Okay.
the 11. He has the what is it, like 11 brothers.
Right.
Yeah,
No, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
For
yeah.
some reason, I was thinking like, what does
Joseph.
Joseph Smith have to do with any
No,
of
not
this?
Joseph Smith. No. It's
No,
no Joseph. Yeah.
I still have the Mormons that came by
The
like
LD. Oh, so the
yesterday.
LDS came and visited you. That's funny.
Yeah. Oh my. Yeah. It made them run away. I told him the thing about the submarine that came to America, and he was like, "There's no submarine." It's like, motherfucker. I got my iPad, and I went to the door again, and he's like, "What are you going to do?" It's like, "I'm going to look up the verse of the thing that I just told you," and he's like, "Are you going to look it up on the internet?" He's like, "Yeah." And he was, but use a book. He's like, "You know that I can get access to books in here, right? You know that I can go to
That's what
your
everybody does.
official website. I can get the actual text. I can
From
get
the
the Book
website.
of Mormon in the original English because I can read English." And yeah, like, how desperate do you have to be to try to bash the iPad that the guy is coming to show you how you're wrong? Like, it was so much. I was laughing my ass off, and that kind of, I think that also made them angry. It was so much fun. Those things happen, out of the blue, so I don't regularly record them, but that would have been fun because they did get a little bit pissy.
Well, did they come to your door then? I'm guessing.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, if you don't have, you should get a Ring doorbell or whatever. It would have recorded it for you.
This is Uruguay. If you put a camera on the door, they will just fucking steal it.
Just mount it so it's like flush with like so they'd have to actually dig at it, and you could run out, chase them off before they could get it.
Yeah, I don't know. We still haven't. It hasn't caught on yet. The Ring cameras down here. Anything else that you can think of, Isa, that got brought up? Because I think we've covered a lot. Well, most of the things that got brought up.
There were certain things I wanted to engage.
Yeah, go.
So I'm thinking we can look at both debates. I think it's fine to do that if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Because that's it's sort of like it got kind of fused together too. So I really think this is a masterclass of what not to do in defending Islam. It's weird when what's his name? What's his name? Who hosts modern day debates?
James.
Yeah, James is like, he's like, Daniel is the best debater for Islam, and I'm like,
no, he's not.
Daniel is the best at deconstructing other religions. He's very good at that. He's an expert at that. Like, he will destroy any religion. But I haven't really seen him make a very good case for Islam. And most debaters that I see on the website defending Islam aren't usually making that case. It's more like, I'm going to attack Christianity. And I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't support Islam. Attacking Christianity does not support Islam. In fact, it hurts Islam because Islam says that, you know, it supports these other the prophets from before. Do you know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
you need to find common ground, not have antagonism against it. You know what I mean? I just like my field is interfaith, so it's like this. You know, Emmy and Jay and I were talking about this, and I'm like, and Emmy and Jay was like, he's like, yeah, I take a different position than you. You are looking for unification. He's like, I am a Muslim apologist, and I'm like, I get that. I do understand that. I get that you are defending Islam, and I'm more like, what is the common ground in these spaces? And when I come to defend Islam, my goal is not to attack other religions or attack atheism because I don't see a purpose in that. But I'm like, what are the merits that Islam has to offer? And I think in a lot of these debates, that's what's lost. We only just focus on everything negative about Islam. We don't know anything positive. And like, I grew up in a space where there's a lot of positive things. Yeah, you could say there's these other things that are problematic, sure. And like every religion, every culture, every history has problematic elements, but where's the positive elements? And I'm like, that's what was missing. I'm like, David did a better defense of Islam than Daniel did. I have to be honest. He was like, yeah, here are these positive things that I see in the Quran. And I'm like, he's like, I agree with some of the Quran. He's like, a lot of it I don't, but some of it I agree. I'm like, dude,
There's that
you
common
need
ground.
to do this, Daniel. You need to defend Islam. That's why you're here. Not to just destroy Christianity. You need to make Islam look good. Talk about helping the poor. Talk about helping the orphans. Talk about, you know, like how Arabs stop burying their girls. Do you know what I mean? Like, these are things that you have that are on your side, you know? Talk about like that there was a harmonization within the Arab communities. Like, and you could say, yes, I admit that there are other problematic elements that exist here too. Sure. But yeah, I guess he doesn't view them as problematic. He's just like, you know, they're just, you know, those are actually just good things. But I mean, I don't know. Might have a
Yeah.
different perspective on that.
Yeah,
Historical things to now. I don't think that ancient people were perfect. I think we made mistakes, you know, but
right.
and I
Or
think we
make
make mistakes now too. So yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Daniel could have also made a better historical. When it comes to defending Islam, right? Everyone focuses a lot on the teachings and stuff, but then one could make the argument that it was the religion that just stopped the warring tribes of Arabia, kind of unified them, and through, even though it was through conquest, it gave us a bunch of historically very valuable things because the Muslims were the ones that kept a lot of the knowledge from the Greeks. We also have Al-Khwarizmi and some of the great scientists and theologians and artists from the golden age of Islam.
Don't you know we have Al-Khwarizmi right here?
We have Al-Khwarizmi right there. That's why I remembered. Yes, exactly. Yes.
Look, he's right here.
There are arguments to be made as the value of Islam, and people always kind of try to portray it as, oh, it's the worst thing that ever happened to humanity. And I don't think that's it.
That's a big claim.
I think there's a lot of good. I think there's a lot of good, and there's a lot of and there's things that are there's difficulties like Christianity. Like Christianity brought a lot of amazing things and difficult things. You know what I mean? You could say that even with like Marxism. There's a lot of good stuff and there's some problematic stuff. Like everything, you know, there's good, and depending on what your perspective is, there's going to be positive and negative elements. And you know, a lot of the stuff we have now comes from Islam being, you know, Muslim scholars being a part of the situation, like you brought up. Like our mathematics are affected by it. And it's good. All of these things are a part of it. You know, were there wars and conquest? Yeah. But there's also a lot of development. There's a lot of beautiful poetry, like Rumi's poetry. You know, there's all of this stuff that exists. And I think we should be, you know, more open-minded and open-hearted to this stuff instead of just being so negative and hostile, you know?
And when you're making a historical argument, I mean, the only way to unify when you have the warring tribes of Arabia, the only way to unify them, unfortunately, is through conquest. There is just no other way. It's happened in the Arabian Peninsula. It's happened with, for example, the natives down here. They would not assimilate, so it's unfortunate. But the Spanish just exterminated them because they weren't civilized like some of the other indigenous civilizations. They were like mega savages. The Indians that we have down here, we had down here, the Charruas, the Guanas, they were all like super warrior-y and not too fond of the Spanish, so they ended up, exterminating them. So when you have, let's say, not so developed, not so advanced tribes, the only way to unify them is through conquest. So I think there is an argument to be made there, because who knows what else would have happened if they would have just been left to each do whatever the hell they wanted, right? So it is, we always talk about accepting the flaws of your position. So I will not, me being a communist, I will not deny some of the bad things that communism did. And then I was kind of thinking of this idea of separating the core of the ideology, and, like, for example, you can evaluate communism and the times that it was tried to be implemented. But if you want to make an accurate assessment, you should also kind of recognize that while some countries were trying to implement communism, there were countries like the US and others actively working against them. So when you're going to factor in the results, you should take that into account, that, okay, yes, communism, historically, you could say that it didn't work, but the US was actively working against it. And then in the cases where, for example, the communist rule ended up devolving into an authoritarian regime, I don't think you can fault the system for the corruption of the people that put it into place, right? One could make the argument that it was the system itself that lended itself to the corruption. But, I mean, capitalism also has the same kind of propensity for corruption, so I don't know how you could.
I agree. I
Actually-
1,000% agree. I think you're completely correct that none of these paths are perfect. They all have flaws. So does communism have flaws? Sure. So does capitalism. Capitalism is hyper vampiric. I lived in Arkansas as a construction worker. All the small businesses were destroyed because Walmart came in. Walmart came in as like this parasite, and every small business was wiped out because they can't compete. They can't compete with Walmart because it's so cheap.
Mhm.
This destroys anybody having, livelihoods. And we're just like, oh, that's so good. What are the checks and balances? for
Right.
it?
And
Nothing.
are they doing anything wrong within the system? No, they're actually working within the boundaries of the system. The problem is just that the system is kind of a little bit inherently exploitative to the small businesses and favors big capitals, right? So it's always the more nuanced than it seems at first glance. Minimum Effort says, I'm subscribed, so there is stronger Muslim presence in these streams. Maybe join the stream here sometime. That is awesome. Yes, would
Woohoo.
love to have you. Yes. We accept, we love having people from all kind of walks of life.
That's what we want. That's what our show is about. It's not about atheists or agnostics
It's not, right.
or Christians. We want all different voices here because we're a neutral platform. The one thing we don't accept, and this is important, is we don't accept like hate. We don't do hate stuff here where you hate LGBTQIA or you hate Muslims, you hate Jews, you hate atheists. The hate speech here, we want constructive dialogue. We don't deal with the hate. You know what I'm saying? So if you use the FAGGOT word, we're not doing it. This is not the space to do that. So
I kind of
This is
hate
correct.
those people But then I'm like, no, I can't stoop to their level of hating the people who are hating the other people that I like.
I mean, you can disagree without bringing up the hate. You can have objections to stuff, but I mean, it is generally known that if you come here and you try to be an asshole, you will get destroyed because I am not very forgiving. Max gifted 5. Yerba Mate Talks membership. Sunday went to Flat 72, Bev Llewellyn, Bartimaeus, Westside Girl Reacts, and Billy Bonks a lot. You can all now enjoy some wonderful emojis like this one that says, the sun is not object. Or this one, Isa in the hospital trying to stream while having the leg be pretty much a cyborg.
Yeah, it's been a heavy experience. I just, I appreciate being here. I think this is such a beautiful. I think having dialogue is it's so important and it's so necessary. And I think what we do here is good work. And I like when we're having deep discussions like this. I'm going to be honest, like it's really hard to have like really deep philosophical discussions with Flat Earth. Like, because there's not much to talk about. It's like, yeah, like we know the science does not. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. You get in a plane and that disproves Flat Earth. I mean, like that's pretty much it. You go on the plane and you're like, oh wow, if this was a flat Earth, I couldn't get to Uruguay. You know what I mean? I can't get to Australia. Like, if it was flat, it would take me much longer distances. That's just common sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, that convinces me that there's a globe. Just going on the plane, I'm like, the whole thing is neutralized after that. Saying like the worst argument I heard for flat Earth is like, I'm gonna take a picture. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
do you know those illusion books? Like when you open the thing and you like start to look like cross-eyed, and then it like makes it look like it's 3D.
Yes, that you put them close and you start moving them away while you're kind of
Exactly.
cross-eyed and 3D shapes appear. Yes,
Exactly.
I love those.
And then it's so cool, right? Those books are cool. Well, that shows that our eyesight is not like this perfect method of stuff. It can be distorted. If I'm out in a desert, I might see a mirage. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that mirage is real. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, this is common sense. We don't look, Max, you and I are wearing glasses. Like, we have limitations even in our eyesight, just like that, right? It's like, this is insane if you think that this photo is going to tell you anything and help you understand anything. There's distorted elements of the perspectives of photos. Like, you could do all kinds of things with how you take pictures. It's so ridiculous. That's why we use other methods, right? We can use,
if I were to describe how I see when I do this, it's like someone just grabbed a handful of Vaseline and just rubbed it on my eyes. It's like it's instantly blurry.
Yep.
My life, like how I live, it's like looking at PlayStation graphics. Like, the first PlayStation when they were just exploring 3D. That's my world. I'm like, everything.
Yes, Lara Croft with the triangle tits. Yes, do love that.
That's exactly what eyesight's like. So I'm like, this is ridiculous. It's so utterly. I'm like, I don't need experiments. I'm like, it's like common sense. Like, this is so silly. For me, like, I get why people are flat earthers. They're there because they're conspiracy theorists, and they take a very conservative conspiracy theorist position, and I get it, and I understand, and I can respect certain, like, having that kind of thing of saying, hey, I want to stand against the grain. That's cool. I get it. And they take it as a whole package. Fine. And then you have to make explanations for it, like Neo-Tychonian model. Okay. But for me, like, I think what's the most obvious makes the most sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I have to turn my head upside down before I can believe that type of thing. Oh, God. Oh, man. I have a book on Flat Earth from Islam. It's crazy.
Emma gifted 5 Yerba Mate Talks memberships, and they went to Pistina the First, Sharky, William Foley, Christian Hojan, Huhaman. Emma, thank you so much. She's so good.
Hey guys, I'm gonna jump off of here though. Thanks for having me. I'm getting hungry.
Problem.
I got some food here, and then
Awesome.
he's getting hungry too. So I gotta feed him too.
Or
All right, take
Orange
good care,
Cat
guys.
wins the day. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a good night.
Feel better, Issa.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think this one's. I like this because I have no dog in the fight, right? And I kind of can take the position. And I've thought, for example, about like, for example, when I've heard some Christians say that God cannot override the laws of logic. And when I hear a Christian say that, my head automatically goes to, okay, that is shirk, because you're now putting the laws of logic as co-eternal with Allah. That is shirk, and that's it. It's sometimes I do think
Honestly,
like
Max, I think you would have been a better Islamic apologist than Daniel. I think so. Because the thing is, you have to defend Islam. That's the goal here, dude. You're supposed to talk about Islam, not about Judaism, not about Talmud, not about. Tell us about Quran. Tell us about Hadith. Tell us about what Imam Malik or Imam Abu Hanifa say, or some Sufi sheikh. No, tell us about that. Where I thought Daniel really shined was when he attacked Wahhabism. I'm like, dude, that's a good position. You're taking the right position. Wahhabism is fragmenting the Muslim Ummah. And he's correct. He made a really good argument there. But here I'm like, dude, you need Judaism and Islam. All those Israelite prophets are a part of Islam. You can't throw them out and be like, well, they're actually Muslim. No, they were Jews. They were Jews. And that's okay. Maybe they're Muslims, they're believers.
I think the fundamental difference between you and I and them is that they would consider that saying that Jesus was a Muslim is a good argument, when it's one of the more asinine claims that the Dawa guys actually do.
I don't know how you even defend it. I'm like, what does it mean?
Because when you go down that route, like, everyone is a Muslim. Then.
Everyone's a Muslim, everyone's a Buddhist, everyone's a Hindu. Because what you do is you reduce the term to meaningless, nothing. But then you say, are Ahmadiyya Muslim? You're like, well, no, they're not Muslim because they believe Ghulam Ahmed is a prophet. And I'm like, so then how's Jesus a Muslim? Like, your whole position falls flat. Well, you're like, well, then they were Muslim. Because that was what Islam is.
If your categorization basically makes it so that even me, a filthy, unbaptized atheist, would qualify, because let's say hypothetically God is the truth, I would have no choice but to submit to God. So everyone would qualify as a Muslim under that view. If you reduce it, then everyone is a Muslim, no matter what they do, what they say, whatever. And you get into some tricky situations of some of the stuff that I've said about Islam and about Muhammad in the past and about Jesus, in which you have someone who is technically a Muslim, aka me, but has said some of the most shirk stuff, and has just broken every rule about actually being a Muslim. So it's a mess. Such a bad argument. That is something like Nadir. Only people like Nadir argue like that. So if you find yourself making an argument and Nadir uses that argument, you maybe should stop and reconsider. Because, I mean, after all, you're making an argument that Nadir would do. And that's bad. Nadir, the last time I emailed him, he wanted to have a discussion 2 versus 1, and I already saw him in another I had seen him a few days ago when that happened. I had seen him on a video, like, literally crying about he was talking to 2 people instead of 1 person. So no, Nadir, if we're going to do this, we're going to have a debate, not a discussion. Steel City said it was so nice being on the panel. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
I was luggage. Fuck. Now I know how Witsit felt in Antarctica.
So a lot of people didn't see the debate. I mean, because it started very early. It started at 2:45 or like 3.
It started very early,
Yeah.
and people don't really care a lot, to be honest, about Islam. People don't like Daniel Pikachu and that kind of stuff. So I knew that it wasn't going to be a full house today, but I had fun. I think it was a worthwhile debate. Talking about debates and bad arguments, I came across the other day a video of Andrew Wilson against a guy that goes by, I think, Muslim Lantern.
Yeah, he's a Salafi.
Yes, and
Or a Wahhabi, whatever.
you won't believe the argument that Andrew Wilson made, and this is what this is also another one of the reasons why I do not respect him. So his argument against Islam, and I shit you not, was that Muhammad must have had a really small penis because he had sex with Aisha while she was still young, and then went on a rant about average depths of female vaginas and some kind and like that. And I was like, dude, Andrew, that is so shitty. That is such on the face of it, the argument is just bad. And then the only reason why you're doing that is because you know that this guy will be triggered to no end because you're talking about Muhammad's penis, right? It's such a slime ball tactic to do.
Yeah, and I'm like, what is the purpose of it?
Nothing. It was just because
no, I mean,
cannot.
I get that. No, I think he's a bit incendiary. Like, it's the funny thing is, I've watched that whatever podcast, and I'm really not very impressed because, like, the Christians aren't very impressive either because they're hypocrites themselves. They try to attack the OnlyFans models, and I'm like, yeah, but you don't follow these religious texts perfectly either. Like, do you think that that main guy Brian, you think he had sex outside of marriage? I'm sure he did. I'm sure he's not this great, wonderful Christian. And he's talking about body counts and stuff. I'm like, yeah, you're not perfect yourself. So what are you condemning these people for? And you're like, yeah, men are these great people. And I'm like, but you believe in a religion that's pro-celibacy. That is what the religion is promoting, and you're not following this religion perfectly. And you know what Jesus teaches? Anti-hypocrisy. And most of it's a bunch of hypocrites, a brood of vipers and a bunch of hypocrites. And I'm like, it's yeah, none of us are perfect. We're all flawed, but it's like, it is what it is.
That was one of the things that kind of got me a little bit. It gets that kind of hypocrisy gets me a little bit angry. When this guy Emmett came to the after show, and he started like saying he had said in the debate all of these things about marriage, and then I kind of put him in his place. It's like, okay, dude, you are either giving thoughts of what married life is like as a virgin, or you had premarital sex and now you're just being a hypocrite. There's just those two options. You don't really have another option. And I don't deal well with that. Someone just speaking, oh, this is what everyone should do, but didn't do it like that.
You're right.
Catherine MC says, I wonder if David is a bit of an Andrew Wilson fan with some of his debate mannerisms. I would not think so, no. They may be kind of on the conservative side, but I don't think they are on the same side of the court. Emma says, no religion is really bad at its core. It's what people make of it, how they interpret what makes a bad religion. That includes some stuff written in the books. Yes.
I agree.
Yeah, it is. I mean, everything can be interpreted and misinterpreted. We are seeing it with the US and the Constitution right now. Some stuff, some loose interpretations are giving room to some unsavory things, which shouldn't be happening. So everything can be used like that. And it's not, I don't think it's a fault of the religion itself. It's more like we're talking about. Um when communism was attempted, you had actors trying to work against it. And then it also happened that the authorities kind of turned into authoritarianism. So I'm not sure we can count that as a fault of the system itself.
No, yeah,
All
I
right.
think we should take a more of a neutral approach. I think you're completely correct. I like you a lot, Max, because I think you're very balanced. And it's like, that's the way that we need to engage this. You could say, hey, I can disagree about this or agree about this, but let's be fair to these things. Let's not just be nasty. And
Mm-hmm.
oh boy, like the debates, I'm going to be honest, it was really hard to watch. Like, just the nastiest. Like, David really did a good job, in my opinion, because like what David said when Daniel kept bringing up like hate, hate, hate. David's like, whether you agree with it or not, he's like, I love these people, and I come with love. And I was like, dude, why don't you talk like that?
David did a masterful gambit, which was just when he was saying like that interaction with the Christians in the room, that was just masterful.
Oh, he's like, do you guys agree with what he said?
What do we do? We love and yeah, that was just,
because I'm like, that's what you want to showcase yourself as. That's good for society. You're saying my faith is about love, and I was like, there are Muslims who do promote that. They do promote love or hub, ishq. Like there's these concepts in Islam that allow for these things, and I'm like, but I see a lot of these Muslim debaters, like a lot of them are just like really, really traumatized. They have a lot of trauma. They don't really have a place of belonging, and there's just a lot of pain, and they go to this place of like anger and just attacking and trying to put down and wanting to be this. I hate the alpha Chad stuff, dude. I'm getting sick and tired of it all across the board. The right-wing Christians, the right-wing Muslims, this idea of like, I'm the alpha Chad. Who's impressed by this? I saw this guy, Dan Bilzerian. I keep getting his feed in my Facebook, and he has this thing called Sigma Society. It's so disgusting and gross.
oh my
There's a
God.
picture of him with all these women, and he's like, I'm going to teach you how to get women. And I'm like, why are you objectifying women, man? Like, this is sickening. Like, it's so, and then like, I don't even believe it's real. I think he gets these models, because I'm telling you, if you have relationships with women are not going to be comfortable with a bunch of women being around you. Like, in general, that's the case. Like 20 women being around one guy. You know what I'm saying? That's not going to happen. Like, but he has these pictures of him with 5 women, 6 women, or all the women are there. I'm like, these are models and actresses. These are not real women.
That's all
doing
paid for. Yeah.
I'm not saying that like threesomes or foursomes. I'm not saying that those things may not happen. Of course they might. Depending on, people have different temperaments and these things might occur. But he's like, I went home for Christmas and I brought 3, maybe 4 girls, and I just took turns having my way with them. And I'm like,
no,
this does not sound like any woman is into this type of thing. I'm like, this sounds like crap. This sounds like crap. It sounds like you made up these stories. And I think a lot of these people tell tall tales. I think these conservative, quote unquote, folks tell tall tales. I don't think any of it's true. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so. and then you have stuff like when the conservative convention was it in Ohio or some stuff like that Grinder just like crashed because all of the conservatives were there, and Grinder just like literally crashed for that state. It's always
they're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah.
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
All righty. Final thoughts, and we'll be on our way. Final thoughts, Isa.
I'll go start first. So I'll talk about both debates. I was really disappointed. I was really sad. I think you and I could have had a much richer conversation if we had better arguments for Islam. I'm kind of shocked that Dr. Wood gave better arguments for Islam than Daniel did. Like, Daniel, man, you can defend Islam. I've heard you do it, and you can do it well. Why don't you do that, dude? You know these scholars, you know Islamic sources. Why don't you present Islam as being like this bastion of, good? Like, the only thing I heard you say, man, was Islam was going to deliver the death penalty. And I'm like, oh, like, it hurt me deep in my soul, man. I was stabbed through the heart. I was shot through the heart, like a Bon Jovi, shot through the heart. But who's to blame, baby? You give love a bad name. That's what I felt. I was like, man, I was shot through the heart listening to these things. And I'm like, dude, why are we attacking Judaism? Judaism is actually what you need to rely on to help you support your arguments, man. And you are crapping on it. And I'm like, that hurt. I was like, oh my God, you didn't make any engagement towards Christianity. And in fact, you actually appealed to you're like, the Christians are being attacked in Palestine. Don't you feel this pain? And I'm like, so what you're doing is you sound like the dude from the Hutus and the Tutsis in Rwanda, where the guy was on the radio, was like, the Tutsis are so bad, or they're destroying everything, or Nazi propaganda. It sounded very when you said that in a Discord, that's Nazi propaganda.
Yeah. What? Hold on.
It was
what did
I was
say?
you said it was Nazi propaganda. It's like this. You're here oh, the Nazi stuff has come out. I'm like, it really sounded like Nazi stuff.
Oh yeah, I said, oh my God, Adolf Hakikachu is insane.
Yeah, because when I heard that, I was like, dude, this sounds like Nazi propaganda. Like, it really did.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was terrified when I heard that. You're like, they're killing all the Christian babies. We, the Muslims, need to ally with the Christians. But we actually hate you Christians. But we want to ally with you because we want to destroy the Jews. And I'm like, why are we taking this position? See, I've lived a life of interfaith. And my goal is to look for common ground, particularly with Muslims, Christians, Muslims and Jews, Jews and Christians, Jews and Muslims, looking for what brings people together, because I think that's what matters. We have a short life on this earth. Whether we believe the religions are real or not real, the important point is we have a short time and we need to make it work, And I don't know, the second debate was so disturbing for me. I really, really was hard to listen to it. It felt really hateful from where I come from.
Yeah.
You're insulting half of my family, and it's my family who fought for civil rights, who marched with Martin Luther King, who believed in these things. I'm not saying they're perfect people. They had their flaws, but I'm like, these people cared about human rights. A lot of the civil rights legislation in the United States came from Jewish lawyers. You told us all about the Jewish Hollywood. Most of those people who made Jesus Christ Superstar, that was false, dude. I actually forgot to mention that. The Jesus Christ Superstar was made by Tim Rice, who's from the Church of England. And you're like, all these Jews have power. I'm like, so do Christians. So do Christians of European ancestry. Are you going to talk about them? No, we're going to forget they exist. Only Jews exist. I'm like, most of the people in power in America aren't Jews. They're Christians of European ancestry. And just let's own that. Are there Jewish directors in Hollywood? Sure. But they're a part of it. But they're not the Jewish director. To make a movie, you need lots of people to make it. Some of the people are Jews. Some of them are Christians. Some of them may be Muslims. It's a diversity of group of people who make these movies. It's not one person who makes it, So I'm like, and if they're secular, then they're just the same as a person who may have come from Christian ancestry, and they're atheist. They're atheists who are doing it. But you're saying, oh well, they're because they come from a Jewish background. I'm like, but they're atheists. They don't even see themselves as Jewish. There's certain people like that. I'm like, it's so much nuance. So when he just kept saying Jewish Hollywood, the Jews are making fun of Jesus, I'm like, no, David's position was correct. Most people don't care about Jesus who are Jewish. They don't care about any of the prophets. They don't know anything about religion. They're just I'm trying to live my life and I'm an American, like if they're in America or wherever they're at, like they don't care about religion. They don't care about culture. Some of them might care about culture, but it's like, they don't care about these things. You know what I mean? So he was correct. I think David's position, from my knowledge of being in the Jewish community, is correct.
And there was an argument that Daniel made, how oh yeah, you have all these people like me going around and mocking Jesus, and you don't have apostasy laws anymore and that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, because there's people in the world that are not Christian, that are not Muslim, that are not Jewish, and what about my freedom to say whatever the hell I want? Like, why do I have to go by your blasphemy laws when I do not consider Jesus as sacred? Why should I be held to the standards of your religion when I don't even believe in it? And that is a weird thought, that someone in America would advocate for something like that. Because just let me tell you, I try not to be inflammatory with blasphemy, but if the US ever implements again blasphemy laws, it's going to get up demonic up in here, because it will become my duty to circumvent or to go against those laws every chance that I get, right? Weird thing for Daniel to say for someone in the 21st, in the year 2025, to kind of hint at, oh yeah, I would love for blasphemy laws to come back to the US. That was just weird. I don't know. Bad day for Daniel in the analysis. Daniel, it's a rinse and forget for you. Sorry, you fumbled it. You need to make a better defense for the Islamic dilemma, doubling down on the very thing that they have you trapped on doesn't get you out of the argument. Daniel, when you double down on the corruption of the previous scripture, you are still within the constraints of the argument that was presented to you. It doesn't get you out of it. It just makes everything worse. And as far as the other debate, Daniel, I have no idea what the hell you were doing. But yeah, better luck next time.
I wanted to say one more thing.
Sure.
Just to cover both of the things. So I agree with you. I think that Daniel, there was a need for a lot of help. There was a lot of help that was needed. He needed to focus on the positive elements of Islam. He needed to show how Islam respects Jesus. He didn't do that. He just focused on Palestine, Israel, which is a tragedy. It's a tragic situation, but you should have a conversation that's focused on that. You can't say, well, I want to show what religion, supports Jesus, and then just take your time to attack Jews. That does not support Jesus. So no, it was not a good place. I think David really came out strong on that debate, especially with the call and response. I agree with you on that. I think David came and said, I love Palestinians, I love Israelis, I love all the people, and I want them to have the best way. Even if I think they're wrong, I want them to have redemption. I think that focus makes his religion look really good. I wish Daniel showed how Islam does the same kinds of things. It shows the nobility of Islam. I didn't hear that. That was unfortunate. I think in the first debate, the Islamic dilemma, focusing on corruption of the texts doesn't really help the case. You need to focus again. You need to focus on how Islam harmonizes, because that is one of the creeds of faith, is that you believe in the prophets and you believe in the books. So you have to showcase that because that is a part of the creed. That's one of the creed of faith. And if you're a Sunni Muslim, you got to believe in the books. You can't just tell me, oh, well, the books are gone. Sorry, I can find a stela from 3,000 years ago. That's not going to hold for anyone who believes. And especially if Nadir Ahmed's going to tell us the Quran is scientific, well, you got to believe in historical science too. So you need a harmonization argument. It's harder to make. It's a difficult position to make, but it's a better position to make. And it was not done. He kind of took a standard argument, but the problem is, it's not going to impress anyone, and you're not defending Islam. So I really felt that Islam was not defended today. and I'm highly disappointed because I've seen him in his A game when he was attacking the Wahhabis. He did a really great job. I think he was perfect on that. Maybe sometime we'll look at that if you want to see the Wahhabi video. But I think he does a very good job critiquing Wahhabism. And he actually tells us what Islam is about and what Sunni Islam is about and how, there can be unification among Muslims. And I think he did really good with that. I didn't see that here today. I'm highly disappointed. I think it hurt our conversation tonight because we needed that. But I think I at least presented two arguments that could work for the Islamic dilemma and the respect for religion argument. I think I presented two arguments that they're not saying they're perfect, but just from the top of my head, I think they would have been a bit more interesting conversation that could have been had. So thank you. And
there was one thing I forgot to mention.
Sure.
When Daniel in a room full of Christians goes and says like, yeah, we advocate for the death penalty for apostates. Daniel, you have to play the crowd. I mean, they're all Christians. What do you think the reaction is going to be when you say something like that? It's not. That's why David got a massive. Well, he had home crowd advantage. That is true. But even if you only have a handful of fans, you can also play to the audience. But when you are in a room full of Christians and you say like, yeah, chop them heads off, they're not going to respond. The Christians are about love. And David Wu was demonstrating it to you when Daniel was saying like, oh, they love the Jews and they treat because they're commanded to love everyone. It's not a contentious thing. That was super weird for me. But yeah, I'm sorry, Daniel.
And one other point I wanted to add to that too. The one other thing that he did really bad was he focused on Mary being 12 years old and being impregnated. I'm like, dude.
Oh my God, yes.
Dude, that's a part of Islamic stuff too. It doesn't matter what her age is. It's the same thing. Like when you make that argument, you're attacking Islam. You're shooting Islam in the foot, man.
And then you bring up the proto-gospel of James. Like, dude.
No one
even I, from the moment that he started saying it, I was like, no, dude, even I don't say that because we don't know. We don't know her age. She was young. There's a word in the Greek for like maiden, but it can be for a virgin maiden. It can be for like a young married woman. It has a wide range of uses. So there is no consensus on her age, but just coming out and say like that was like another Reddit tier atheist level argument. Like Mary was 12 and the Holy Spirit raped her. It's like, dude, even I don't in my worst filthy atheist days wouldn't do an argument like that.
No, you're 100% correct. You're 100%.
Catherine MC says, I feel a bit sick now, honestly. I do find it offensive. I would love to know or hear about loving monogamous men who respect women, but it's also not like that. Well, I mean, I'm a filthy degenerate. What do you want me to do? I mean, we have Isa for that here. But, I mean, he's a little bit busy with all of the bitches he's getting with this car. I mean, we have to face the reality. But funny. I do love, there is a weird conjunction in me, in that I am kind of like half red pill, in that I am a little bit of a womanizer. I fall in love like 10 times a day. But on the other hand, I don't undermine women. I actually love them and value them and respect them. So I don't know. I know I am weird. I am weird.
You know what's interesting? I was telling you about that movie Ninja Scroll, and it's a very powerful movie because the main character is this. It's because it's about class conflict. It's about objectification and abuse of women. It's about all of it. It's got everything in it. But basically, it's about this kind of like wandering ninja who basically has his history come back to haunt him. where he's very kind of cynical about the world that's behind him, but he's very noble and ethical in everything that he does, even though he's in this very violent world where he battles and fights against like these hordes of monsters. There's basically this one scene in the movie, I know this is a bit of a spoiler, but I think it's really important, where this woman ninja, like he gets poisoned at a certain point, and there's this woman ninja that whoever she sleeps with dies, right? So she can never sleep with anyone, so she's perpetually not able to ever have companion, intimately speaking, because they will always die. And basically the only way to cure the hero of his poison is to have relations with this ninja. And then she takes like off her clothes and says, she offers himself to him, and she's like, no. He's like, you're not consenting to this. Like, he knows, and he doesn't even say anything, but it. He's like, you're not consenting to this. You're doing this because you feel like you have to. You've been an object. And he humanizes her. He never sees her as being beneath her. In this feudal Japan era, he always sees her as his companion, as his equal. And it's so powerful. It's so heavy. He never looks down on her as a woman. And she says that, like, at a certain point in the movie, she's like, you're the only person who's seen me as a woman. You're the only man in this world of men who haven't seen me as an object, as something to be used. Because in feudal Japan, like, you were used by everything. Like, if you were on the top tier, if you're not a daimyo or a shogun or whatever, if you're a samurai, you were going to be used by the shogun or the daimyo. That's why a lot of popular Japanese tales are about the ronin, who are these wandering, masterless warriors, because they're not beholden to the mastership. They follow their own way. And it's actually very good telling for a Western audience in Japan, where you're like, whoa, you have these people who are going, and they're usually poor, they're struggling, they don't get food because you're not like a subject to a master. And they have a really tough life, but they have their own way. They have their own self. Like, I love the movie Yojimbo. Like, you see this character and he struggles a lot, but he follows he has a moral code. And I love the story when you have these very strong, ethical, moral characters that are like, whatever the world that's around them, it might be dark and horrible, they're able to maintain their dignity and nobility, and they don't destroy the things around them. They don't use, I love stories like that. And Japan has a lot of, like, Final Fantasy Tactics, like a video game. You should check that out on the PlayStation. The main character is just like that too. He's like this person who's in this horrible world of abuse and usage of, nobles abusing common folk. And he is this kind of person who's in between. His mother is a commoner and his father's a nobleman. And he sees the humanity of the people who are the common folk. And, he basically renounces his nobility. And I think it's such a powerful thing to see that, where you have a person, a hero, who's like, no matter what, I'm going to have my integrity and nobility. And I think to me that's more important than anything else. It's not about like sex and stuff. People get so wrapped up in this superficial stuff. It's about, do you have a noble character? Like, when stuff goes down, are you going to be the noble person, or are you going to be a fiend? And I think difficult things test you. They test test who you are as a human.
True.
And I love that. So,
all right. With that, thank you everyone for meeting us tonight. Before you go, make sure to do a social thing is like, share, subscribe, send this to a friend, send this to your significant other, go to the corner, yes, the corner of your street, and just subscribe to Yerba Mate Talks. And that way we can share the love for the channel. Thank you so much to everyone who joined. Special thanks to Sunflower for always bitching in the side chat and getting himself muted and kicked for being a dummy. But yeah, we appreciate you. Just don't mess with Isa. You want to come insult someone, insult me, Sunflower, because I will reply, but Isa will not, so I have to intercede, because you just don't do that. If you want to attack someone, attack me, and I will just defend myself. Max says Sunflower is our own Hakim. Oh, Matthew Hakim. I'll probably, you know what? I'll save it. I'll show you the video maybe tomorrow. We can do a stream about that. I went to Flatzoid stream and Matthew Hakim. No, wait. No, I went to Mikey Smith stream and Matthew Hakim was there and stuff happened. But maybe we cover that tomorrow. All right. With that, we're on our way. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Love you all. Take care. Have a good night.